Good afternoon. In this video, we're going to go over this week's options watch list. Before I get into the watch list video out of the room, you can find the link in the description of the video and in my bio section of social media accounts. Also, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Now we got a few things to go over this week. Right now, the put the call ratio, which is CPCE, is down at 0.56, which is pretty low. Yeah, it's been lower, but it's definitely pretty low. So we are definitely got more people on the call side. Too many people are bullish. We're going to end up seeing a rug pull here probably pretty soon. Maybe tomorrow, maybe Tuesday. Maybe even Wednesday, which is FOMC day. But put the call ratio is very, very low. Everyone's on the bullish side. So that's usually a good sign that we're going to get a rug pull here. The question is it going to be tomorrow? Is it going to be Tuesday or Wednesday? So with that said, economic calendar for the week, Monday, don't see anything. Tuesday, we have... Let's see, we got Logan speaking at 9 a.m. We have Flash PMI at 9:45, new home sales at 10 a.m. That's it for Tuesday. Now Wednesday we have Yellen is speaking at 10:05 a.m. on Wednesday, and we have FOMC at 2 p.m., which no Powell. So these FOMC meetings end up being the best ones because the implied volatility is very, very low. You can get at the money strangle for FOMC, and they end up going 100% very, very easily, especially when IV is very, very low. So definitely prefer the ones with no Powell, just based solely on that. So Wednesday could be a very crazy day between Yellen and FOMC. Thursday we have preliminary GDP, unemployment claims at 8:30 a.m., pending home sales at 10 a.m., and that's it for that. Now on Friday a.m., Friday we have PCE, durable goods, personal income, personal spending. Then we have consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. So I've got a lot of data on Friday, so we could end up seeing a pretty volatile week. With the VIX being low. I have VIX up right now. VIX is at 1681. I mean, it was down underneath 16 on Friday morning. We could have a bullish day tomorrow and get more people in the call side before they actually flush it. That's what I would think. I would think that either we're going to have a big gap up tonight, or we're going to end up running tomorrow to get more people on the call side before they rug pull. Because what they end up doing is they like to rug pull like middle of the day. They'll get people excited in the morning, then they'll pull it in the middle of the day. Or they'll do a big gap up in the morning and they'll have a nice strong green candle at open and get people to lure in more calls. Then they'll flush it. So that's the typical games that the market makers like to play, and I think that's what we're going to end up seeing. So tomorrow, if we get a rug pull, I think it will either be late morning or in the afternoon. And if it's not tomorrow, it'll probably be a Tuesday or Wednesday. So we're definitely going to get a rug pull. Now VIX SPY can go up more above what 420 it was. So VIX can go lower than 16. It can go as low as 14. So definitely within the cards, but under 15, it usually doesn't get there. Under 16 is where it's been actually been getting bought. Because right here it went under 16. Did it get under 16 here? No, 16, 17. So this is the last time it got underneath 16 right here. And right here. So but yeah, like I said, it can definitely get below 15, get down to 14. So there's room for it to drop more on VIX, and SPY could pop a little more, but we'll have to see what happens. So VIX definitely, but if VIX does take off, I mean, we're getting a trend line right here going. It could go 25 plus. So SPY, what I've been talking about is this inverted head and shoulders that we're going to get a fake out, make it look like it's going to break out, get people in, then they're going to dump it. And this is actually playing out right now. Now we're above the trend line a little bit. above the 416 area. Went up to 420, almost 421. You get a red candle right here, so I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we push a little bit more, 422, 423, then we end up seeing a rug pull. But we'll have to see what happens. Definitely setting up for something to happen this week. It's just going to be a question of when and which day. What is it going to be and which day? So definitely keeping an eye open that we can reverse at any time. But if it does manage to get over this 421, 420.50 area, we could get a push to 422, even 425. But I'm primarily looking at it from the downside just because the put to call ratio is right there. FOMC is around the corner. They could we could see more things with more interest rates on the table, and Yellen speaking, so who knows what Yellen's going to say. Then we have debt ceiling, and we have all kinds of things going on, so we'll have to see what actually happens. But we'll just play it day by day and stuff like that. So I already went to the upside on that. I think the upside is very, very limited this week, but I would watch it underneath 418. It gets underneath 418. We got some gaps to fill down here at 408. Got a big area right here at 413. Then we get this pesky area at 410.50 that always seems to be holding. Then we get that 408. Then we get support right down here at 405. Then 400. I get gap fill right down here at 397. So get some gaps to fill on the way down. So we'll have to see what happens on SPY. Keep an eye on that. Apple. Let's see. Toss is taking forever to load today. Apple is still, not full body out of the Keltner channel, not like on other ones I'm looking at, but kind of keeping an eye on it. I mean, it's rejecting this 175 area, so we get resistance right there, and right over here. So we'll have to see if it actually does do that. It does line up with a rug pull. If the rug does get pulled, that I would watch Apple underneath 174, but push down to the support, earnings support right here, gap support at 171. It gets below that, we could end up seeing a gap fill on that. So definitely get some gaps to fill on that from earnings. So have to keep an eye on that. BA is still stuck in its channel, its weekly channel. It just keeps getting bought on these 200s, still staying in the 195 to 215 area. Except the channel's getting tighter. That's a nice big weekly flag, but I just don't know if it's gonna break out or not. I think it's gonna need some pretty significant news or something to get out. But BA, anything could happen. So I would watch it underneath 200 for a push down to 195. It gets below 195. You get a gap fill right here at 192, and 190 would be a support too. And if it does manage to get over this higher day on Friday, I believe that was Friday, over 208, you can get a push to 210, back to the 215 level on that. So I mean, you can play the range if you want to, but at some point it's going to break this range. I just don't know when. We've been sitting in it since all year. So at some point, this is going to either have a huge breakout or it's going to fall apart. The more it stays in this level, the more I think it's going to end up popping. But we'll have to see with all the things going on. It's hard to imagine that BA could take off, but who knows? We'll have to keep an open mind and just see what it does. But right now, you can just play the range if you want to do that. Netflix. And I'm kind of iffy about Netflix on this. After seeing Thursday's strong candle and then you get a red candle on Friday, most people are going to probably look at going short, which I'm kind of liking it that way. But after, thinking about it and looking at it, every time they have a strong green candle like right here, the next day ends up being green. And we didn't get that here. So I'm almost thinking, plus the weekly, get a big cup and handle on the weekly, get this big cup. You get the handle right here. I think that if for some reason SPY strong or Netflix strong, sometimes Netflix just goes against the market, has a mind of its own, and just doesn't seem to care. So speaking of that, let's see. Wasn't Thursday a red day for the market? Oh, no, it wasn't. Okay, for some reason I thought it was. Never mind. But anyways, after seeing the weekly, I mean, this has got a lot of potential. I mean, if it gets over 375 and push to 380, and it could get jumped to 400, 410, 420. It's got some room. I mean, it's got. I don't imagine it will get to 475, but who knows? I'm not. You can't ever count Netflix out, because when it has these strong weekly days, I mean, these weeks like right here broke out. I mean, this is a, let's see, low is 234 and high is, I mean, that's that's almost a 60-point move right there. I mean, it can 60 points from 370 would be 430. I mean, that's right up here if it was to have a strong move like that. So just, and I think a lot of people will have it on the radar, but you also got to keep an eye on. I keep an open mind open for that the pattern is very, very well defined, and the market makers know this, and they know the handbook that retailers are using, so they may take this opportunity to get over 375 and pop it to 380, get everybody thinking it's going to be a huge breakout, then dump it. You got to think like a market maker, because they know what we're using for playbooks and handbooks and whatever you want to call it, for strategies. And their job is to take out most of retail they can. And to me, I mean, it looks like a huge, strong setup, but also could be a very big, massive trap. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they even pop it to 380, 385, get people really excited, then they just dump it. I mean, that also plays into the scenario that if the market has a strong day tomorrow or Tuesday, and they dump at the end of the week or Tuesday or whatever, that we could see a strong move, then dump. And that plays into that scenario almost perfectly. So definitely keep that in mind on Netflix. Meta, it just keeps staying outside the Keltner channel on the weekly. I keep looking at this on the short side, and it just keeps going and going and going. I did this with Roku and Baidu at one point in time, and it just kept beating a dead horse, thinking, okay, it's going to drop, keep watching it, and weeks, months go by, and then it finally has the huge knife. So it does take some time for it to play out. We'll have to see if it actually does. So I would watch it underneath. You could even say 240 for push down to gap support down here at 230 from earnings. Now if it breaks 230, we're definitely going to fill the gap to get down to 220, 215 for Meta. So which will bring it down to the top of the Keltner channel. But usually when it's outside the Keltner channel, it does come back in. It's just a question of when. And right now, Meta just keeps raging forward. Now, if the market has a rug pull, it could definitely play out and fill the gap on that one. So a lot of my thesis this week is basically dependent on the market popping and then having a rug pull at some point in time. So Microsoft, same thing. Outside the Keltner channel on the weekly here, and here. So it keeps going up. Full body candles are out. Eventually, it's going to come back in. I got gap resistance, gap support right here from earnings at 295. So I would watch it underneath you could see 316 or even 315 for push down to 310. Then you get this 305. 305 area. Then you get 300 being a big psychological number. Then you get the 295, which is gap support from earnings. I would think it would actually bounce right here. I don't think it will fill the gap unless there's a huge market dump or really, really bad news. Then it can fill the gap. But usually when it's this far away from gap support, it doesn't flush through. It will bounce and end up making either a head and shoulders or inverted cup and handle before it actually fills down. So NVIDIA, same thing with NVIDIA. I keep watching it, and it just keeps going and going outside the Keltner channel on the weekly for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it just starts to look like it's getting ready to drop, and it does a little bit. It gets bought, it breaks out, starts to show weakness outside the Keltner channel again. Then it has a massive push. Now NVIDIA's got earnings this week, which is on the 24th, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, which is Wednesday. Maybe that will be the catalyst for it to dump. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I would keep an eye on it underneath under 310 push to 305, 300, gets on at 300, get 295, 290, basically it'd be $5, 285, 280, 275, 270, get a little bit of a gap fill right there at 265. So it's got some room to drop, especially being this far out of the Keltner channel on the weekly. So definitely keep an eye on that. Tesla is the last one. Tesla, I remember saying it was going to fill the gap. Watch it to fill the gap, and it did. It got to 180. It filled that gap from earnings drop. So I'm looking at a little more continuation, even though it's kind of, it filled the gap. It's getting to the top of the Keltner channel. RCT channel is right there. Lines right there at 185. And at the weekly 20 EMA is right there. So it's got some resistance going against it. But Tesla's one of those things where it doesn't really care about resistance sometimes. If it just starts getting too much momentum, it could just end up having a strong day. So I would keep an eye on it for more upside over 181, for a push to 185, 190, even possibly 200. Because the weekly area is 200, 205, and 210. So it's got room to run to 200, 210 if it does decide to do that. But because it filled the gap, it could end up pulling back. And if it does pull back, you could obviously watch it underneath 178 for pushes 175, 170, 165, 160. Basically every $5, 155. But I'm kind of leaning towards more of the upside. But if the market does end up doing a rug pull, that will probably end up following with it. So have to see what happens. Now, when is this all going to play out? We have no idea. I mean, it could end up being a strong open tomorrow and dump Monday. It could dump Tuesday. It could dump Wednesday. Who knows? That's why you need to be in the room, and we'll just take it day by day, play by play, and news event by news event. So that's going to do it for the watch list, and thanks for watching.